Putin goes full boss mode as Russia unleashes a massive wave of retaliatory strikes following Ukraine's bold attack on critical oil infrastructure. Ukrainian cities are reeling under heavy assault as Kyiv is shaken, Donetsk burns, and Zaporizhzhia comes under relentless fire. Is Russia's escalating barrage systematically crippling Ukraine's energy lifelines as Moscow intensifies its campaign across the front? Has total revenge mode been activated after what Moscow sees as Trump's Patriot missile betrayal and Washington's renewed support for Kyiv? Putin responds to Ukraine's attacks with a fresh wave of hellfire strikes before the conflict enters an even more dangerous phase. Russian forces have continued their deadly offensive across Ukraine, while steadily advancing deeper into the strategically vital Donetsk region. On July 10th, Russian troops claimed a major battlefield breakthrough after capturing new positions around Donetsk's Krasny Lyman sector. This came on the very same day Ukraine launched strikes targeting Russian energy infrastructure and critical military logistics facilities. Russia's defense ministry later released fresh details outlining the scale of its latest brutal assault on key Ukrainian military targets. According to Russia's defense ministry, 1 concentrated strike and 6 coordinated attacks targeted Ukraine's energy and fuel infrastructure. Russian forces also claim to have launched sustained attacks against multiple Ukrainian military positions across several active combat zones. In another claimed battlefield success, Moscow announced that its forces had captured 7 more settlements inside eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia said operations to eliminate Ukrainian personnel around the Krasny Lyman area are continuing without pause. Russian air defense systems also claimed a major success after shooting down 144 Ukrainian drones during a massive aerial assault. The intercepted drones were reportedly launched during Ukrainian operations targeting Russia and territories currently under Moscow's control. Oil refineries, fuel storage facilities, logistics hubs and oil tankers were allegedly among the intended Ukrainian targets. However, Russia's deputy prime minister admitted that repeated Ukrainian attacks have triggered a growing fuel shortage crisis across the country.
There is currently a fuel shortage. Could you please tell us when the situation might improve? The shortage is particularly noticeable in the regions I travel through, particularly in small settlements.
It would be wrong to claim that everything is fine. We must acknowledge that there are problems, such as the shortage that is causing queues at petrol stations. Sometimes petrol stations are operating erratically. The shortage is, for obvious reasons, due to some of our oil refineries being partially taken out of service for repairs following air strikes. Nevertheless, we are doing everything we can to strengthen the protection of our oil refineries. The government is doing everything it can to ensure that capacity is utilized and that sufficient volumes of petroleum products are produced. We are currently working actively to secure additional supplies during this period. These are all temporary measures. Overall, it is clear that we have sufficient capacity. We are fully self-sufficient and even export the relevant products. However, we have now decided, among other things, to temporarily ban the export of petrol and diesel in order to prioritize the domestic market. We will continue to implement these measures until the situation has stabilized.
Russia's latest retaliation comes as President Zelensky vowed that Ukrainian drones would continue targeting every Russian oil refinery within reach. Russia reportedly launched another ballistic missile attack on Kyiv in the early hours, adding to a week of repeated strikes. Several people were injured and damage was reported across multiple districts, according to local authorities. Among the injured was a child, Kyiv's Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said. Initial explosions were heard around 3:40 a.m. local time as missiles and drones hit residential and infrastructure targets. Buildings were damaged and fires broke out in several neighborhoods on the western side of the city. On July 10th, multiple Russian airstrikes reportedly hit civilian areas in Zaporizhzhia. At least 1 person was killed and dozens were injured in recent KAB bombing raids, regional officials said. Russia attacked the city with guided aerial bombs, damaging residential blocks and industrial sites. On July 10th, Ukrainian forces reportedly hit 13 Russian vessels near Crimea in overnight strikes. According to the Kyiv Independent, the attack was described by Ukraine's unmanned systems commander. Robert Brovdy said the targets included 10 tankers, a dry cargo ship, a ferry, and a sea tug. Robert Brovdy also said Ukrainian forces struck 5 electrical substations in Crimea during the same operation. The Ukrainian commander referred to the campaign as part of the Crimean switch-off project, aimed at disrupting Russian logistics and power infrastructure. Ukraine's Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky says Russia's territorial gains have slowed significantly in the first half of 2026. He claims Moscow failed to meet its objectives despite having roughly twice the manpower and equipment on key fronts. Alexander Syrsky said, and I quote, "The enemy attempted to launch a large-scale offensive but, in fact, failed to achieve any of its objectives despite having an almost twofold advantage in personnel and equipment." If previously the Russian army was conducting active offensive operations in 13 operational directions, now there are at most 6 or 7. Our ratio of assault operations to those of the enemy is currently approximately 40 to 60. It is precisely thanks to the active actions of the defense forces that in the first half of 2026 the pace of Russian troop advances decreased by more than half. We must not underestimate the enemy. A turning point in the war is still far away. Unquote. Meanwhile, Zelensky has set up a special Ukrainian command dedicated to deep strikes inside Russia, sharpening Kyiv's long-range play.
Шановні українці і українки, сьогодні є нові результати наших сил оборони в далекобійних санкціях проти Росії. Бензинова криза в Росії поглиблюється, цілком справедливо у відповідь на небажання Путіна закінчувати цю війну. Ми дали пропозиції, як наблизити мир, маємо підтримку не тільки серед партнерів в світі, а також і серед оточення Путіна щодо миру. Там розуміють, що відбувається і що мир не має альтернативи. Це враження буде в Росії збільшуватись. Сьогодні наші далекобійні удари досягли кількох регіонів самої Росії, а також об'єктів на тимчасово окупованій території України. Я дякую нашим воїнам за влучність. Добре іде операція і Служба безпеки України по далекобійним санкціям. Будемо цей напрямок ще посилювати. У наших воїнів має бути значно більше можливостей досягати російських окупантів саме там, звідки вони в Україну несуть війну на території Росії. Сьогодні я підписав указ про створення у складі Збройних сил спеціального командування далекобійного, фактично глобального впливу на Росію за цю війну. Це командування повинно зосередити 100% наявних ресурсів для того, щоб ще відчутніше знизити російський потенціал війни.